The UN Special Rapporteur spending the past week here assessing the country's commitment to combat violence against women, its causes and consequences, and evaluating the legal framework and policies on gender-based violence. Our Anike Archer gives the details.
Marital rape is not a crime here in the Bahamas, save, of course, in what's deemed narrowly defined exceptional circumstances. And while the necessary revisions are said to be under consideration, this is not today's reality. And that's a sore point for the United Nations Special Rapporteur on Violence Against Women, Dubravka Simonovic, who is encouraging the government to change this archaic law.
All countries all over the world are singling out this country as still having such provision in a law, although there are certain steps under which it is restricted now with respect to when protection orders are applied, when there is a process of separation going on, then it is possible to prosecute marital rape. But still, it is a situation under which there is clear provision that marital rape with respect to 16-year-old is not seen as rape. It's somehow allowed by legislation.
Ms. Simonovic further pointed out that under the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, commonly referred to as CEDAW, the legal age to receive medical care without parental consent should also be revisited.
Girls from 16 to 18, they still need parental consent to receive medical services like health services, contraception and other things. And this is something that should be revisited, because if age of sexual consent is 16, then they should be able also to decide about those services that are needed, and that could also help them to reduce different risks related to gender-based violence.
Ms. Simonovic plans to revisit the Bahamas once she has obtained more statistical data on reported cases of violence against women from law enforcement. The plan is to present a comprehensive report containing final findings and recommendations to the UN Human Rights Council next June. During her visit here, Ms. Simonovic also met with government officials, representatives of state institutions, and civil society organizations, as well as individual women in New Providence and Grand Bahama. For JCN News, I'm Anike Archer.
Now, as the deadline for the mass deportation of illegal migrants is fast approaching, the United Nations admonished the Bahamian government today to enact legislation for refugees consistent with international standards. UN President Dubravka Simonovic.
I would like to mention also situation related to irregular migration. And here I'm concerned that Bahamas acceded to the Refugee Convention from 1951, but there is no legislation at the national level. So all those activities are done on ad hoc basis, and operation of the detention center is then not regulated by the law, and this is something that should be done in the future in order to fully guarantee non-refoulement and respect all rights of all persons there.
Additionally, Ms. Simonovic urges the government to speed up the immense backlog of Bahamian nationality applications for Bahamian-born individuals of Haitian descent. Furthermore, the treatment of women in the detention center is also a concern for the United Nations.
I visited the detention center and I had possibility to speak with a few of them. What I have seen is that they would need additional assistance in terms of legal assistance, because basically they are not fully informed about their situation. And then I have also visited the shelter attached to that detention center that is for women and children. Conditions are not very good. They are better than conditions in detention center for persons without children, but conditions should be improved. And here I have seen that, for example, those that are working on immigration issues, they do not work jointly with social service, although social service members were there. So in the future it will be important to look at the whole situation of women and children that are there.
Ms. Simonovic's first visit to the Bahamas was to assess the country's commitment in combating violence against women. She will be presenting her preliminary findings to the Human Rights Council in June. Now, another traffic fatality on the books for 2017 after a primary school student is struck and killed last evening. Police say they got the call around 6 of an incident on Florida Court off Balfour Avenue involving a tow truck and an 8-year-old boy. The child was pronounced dead on the scene. The driver of the tow truck was uninjured. At last report, he was assisting with the investigations. The youngster's death follows a similar tragedy at the same time last week when 15-year-old Duran Pickstock was killed in the area off East Street and Sea-Link Avenue when a white Honda Fit and a black Nissan Fuga collided. Pickstock was the passenger in the first vehicle. The drivers of both cars were seriously injured prior to this. 6 people lost their lives in one weekend. This past Wednesday, Transport Minister Frankie Campbell made this strong appeal to road users ahead of the holidays.
Sometimes we get caught up in the festivities of the season. We forget the reason for the season, and maybe we party a little too hard. So as we celebrate, Mr. Speaker, I want to admonish Bahamians everywhere that road safety is everybody's business all the time. Yes? Have an eggnog? Yes? I'm going to have one. Yes? And I'll sing a sing. Yes? Go to a party. You've been invited to many parties right here today. But ensure that at the end of it, you are able to arrive home safely. So you will take the necessary precautions.
Police, meantime, reporting success in nabbing 3 alleged killers. The trio's believed to be behind Sunday's murder on Shirley Street. The victim and 2 others were working on a construction site in that area when 2 gunmen showed up and demanded cash before shooting 2 of the men. The 3rd worker was gun-butted. 1 of the men died on the scene. The other 2 were seriously wounded. Now, over in Abaco, authorities there are looking for the owner or owners of the 5 packages of suspected marijuana, a silver .45 pistol, and 50.45 ammunition found on a vacant property on West Bay Street, Dundas Town. No arrests have been made. Still no sign of the pilot or the plane that crash-landed in Grand Bahama early yesterday afternoon, injuring the female passenger. Police say the single-engine aircraft was coming from the United States when it fell into waters 8.5 miles off West End. Police officers and the U.S. Coast Guard, along with the Bahamas Customs Marine section, responded. Reports are that the injured female was retrieved from the water. She was taken to the Rand Memorial Hospital where she's in stable condition. This, of course, contrary to the reports that was made earlier that she had been airlifted to the U.S. for further treatment. Again, the search continues for the man and the plane. You're watching JCN News. Stay with us.
This segment of the news was brought to you by Alive.